Good morning, guys. I've been trying and failing with the hair. It's like tangled and then it gets matted when I sleep on it. So I just gotta keep combing and it'll be nice and beautiful eventually. Cause like if I actually straighten it out, it gets pretty long. But yeah, now like parts of it are straightened out and parts of it are tangled and parts of it I slept on and I just woke up. So ignore the hair. I guess that's impossible. Anyways, really cool video idea. So I have a question for you all, but before I get to that question, um, we learn about other tribes by going and digging up their tombs and seeing what was buried there. So we can learn, oh, Egyptians had working batteries, and the people of Pompeii died to a volcano, stuff like that. But interesting stuff. The when you dig up tombs for like Aboriginals where you live, and the Aboriginals say, "Hey, don't dig up the tombs of our ancestors," then we remember, oh yeah, it's wrong to dig up tombs. So that's ironic because, and I think it's wrong to dig up tombs because even if someone no longer exists, you still have to respect their existence. But um, I guess there are a lot of cases where the value of learning from the tomb is just too much, and there's also cases where maybe there's gold. Gotta get rich. Gotta dig up tombs. So, so yes, unfortunately, I think it does depend on whether they have living relatives to say, "Hey, don't do that." If their living relatives say, "Hey, don't do that," then don't dig up the person's tomb. Now, why is that ironic? And this is leading to my question. Is keep watching, keep watching. So, when we say when we look at like ancient ancestors, we say, "Oh, this tribe was advanced because there's flower pollen in the tomb, and that means they believed in the afterlife. That so believing in the afterlife before we knew about like reality and chemistry and biology and physics, etc., and the fossil record, before we knew about that stuff and like genes. Oh, there was something I wanted to look up about chromosomes. Oh yeah, you know how they would like sort the chromosomes by like the length in these like gels and they would like drift down the gel and you'd see, okay, the one here is like this length chromosome, the one there is this length chromosome, and then you can look at the individual chromosomes when you're sorting the DNA out. Um, yeah, you can actually like distill the DNA and then you sort the chromosomes that way by like filtering them through this gel. And I used to think the container for the gel was a spaceship because it looked like a spaceship, like with like guns and wings. Anyways, some people were amused that I thought I was playing around with the spaceship with the like DNA sorter like plastic container. It's like pew, 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 minus the pew pew pew. So, anyways, my question, yes, yes. Um, not whether that's actually a form of enhancement, but so at the time, people recognized they're dead, and and that was a sign of like they believe in individuality, therefore they're intelligent. Um, and intelligent animals will mourn their dead. Uh, it's at the very least a form of like family bonds, right? And it's really sad. And I think that sadness has to do a lot with the formation of religion. So why do we believe in an afterlife? What if there's a biological origin to believing in the afterlife? And here's my question. Is religion a biological consequence of sleep paralysis? And I ask this because if a loved one dies for me, at least, I'll have dreams about them sometimes. And if I have sleep paralysis in the morning and I'm still asleep, but like, part of me is awake and it freaks me out because I can't move my body at all and I'm just stuck, trapped in darkness, unable to move at all and panicking, then then the defensive reaction is to go back into the dream and place more importance on the dream. So if you're having, so what if people have a dream about a loved one, then they have the sleep paralysis, they place more importance on the dream, and they assign the loved one in the dream as real. Afterlife. And that, my viewers, might be a biological requirement for religion that believes in the afterlife. It like doesn't it make sense? Cause I'm thinking like trying to relate to someone that lost their loved one, and then my cousin lost her godmother, and then I lost my bird, and before that I lost my mom. People lose their loved ones, and I'm like, well, how can you worship a god who kills your loved ones with aging, giving cursing everyone with aging, right? Before people didn't age, then God's like, well, your father, 6,000 years ago, which doesn't make sense, but 6,000 years ago, Adam and Eve, oh, well, I'm going to curse all your children because of what you did. And they're going to age and die. Age, age is solvable by human effort. Aging is solvable by human effort. We know the cause of aging. Um, we know how to edit genes. We just don't understand the language of the genes. But for some genes, we can like sort out the language. But aging is hard because we would actually have to invent in our DNA something to prevent the telomere strand from breaking down. So, so we'd actually have to figure out how to make proteins, how to make proteins, how to program these proteins what we want them to do, and we'd we need like a Manhattan scale project of having biologists and chemists and um, genetic like cell biologists and then like gene biologists like coming together and just figuring out how to make proteins that when you're replicating the DNA like make it so that it replicates the way the gametes do instead of the way the cancerous cells do. Um, so that when something goes wrong, the telomeres don't shorten. Because we know how to remove a cancerous tumor. It's okay if a cell mutates. So we don't want all of the cells in our body dying off and eventually, or I don't. What happens when the telomere gets too short? Then it just like then you get a cancer cell, right? Okay, never mind about the. But like if telomere shortening was like to prevent I don't know what the genetic advantage of telomere shortening is. I don't think there is one. So this is a disease that needs to be cured and it can be cured. And then obviously the alternative is we just um, upload our consciousness to better bodies which are immortal. Some people will, oh yeah, yeah, obviously because I'm a ghost actually, and I'm just gonna be like reincarnated or put in an angel's body. That's cute. I wish I was a ghost too. But if I'm not a ghost, then you're not a ghost either. Um, and if we want something safer than a body, which if you take a bad fall, then your brain stops working, then it would be good if we had brains that we can have backup copies and autosaves and load it on. Like when we wake up in the morning, we load up the brain, we boot the brain, and we're awake. So if you put all that brain and you simulate all the cells and chemistry and biology of how the brain thinks, and you get someone's thoughts and ideology and neural connections and memories onto the computer program, then you can simulate the brain, you can simulate the environment, you can simulate the surroundings, you can simulate everything. Maybe add some cool stuff like low gravity, and then boom, you're good to go. Except if someone drops the computer or there's a power outage, you just boot it back up. And there's a lot of cool questions you could ask about that, like which copy is me? If I've lost memory of the last 10 minutes, is it still me? But if you're woken up by a loud noise, can you remember your dream? Are you still the same person you went to sleep as? A little bit scary to imagine, but we are temporal creatures, so I really don't. I wouldn't mind if there was copies of me because I know that if the planet were inhabited by people like me, there wouldn't be a lot of ecological destruction. There would be the planet would be more socialist, um, but a lot less productive too, because we'd be lazier. Yeah. I don't know. I guess I can't say if the whole planet was populated by me, because what part of me is me? Because if someone grows up with different set of experiences, I can't call them me. But if I was just cloned a billion times, then yeah, I tend to be altruistic, regardless of how many people I argue with. At the end of the day, if they're a decent person, then I don't want them getting screwed over. Um, and that applies for animals as well. So I would actually pursue technological singularity and actually try to. I'm actually way more authoritarian than a lot of other uh, people with like liberal, progressive, socialist values, democracy values. I actually think that death should be prevented, and if you have to like squash people's rights of like reproductive rights to do that, then as long as you're like minimizing the deaths, then it's okay to like force people not to have children. So that's actually like way far, like extremely, extremely authoritarian viewpoint. So I have a question for you. My last question going out on a good note. What is Santa Claus's ecological footprint?